When the stars went dark, Commander Elena Vasquez stood at the observation deck of mining station Prometheus 7, watching the twin suns of the Kepler system paint the asteroid field in shades of gold and crimson. 3 years of peaceful operation had made this view routine, but she never tired of it. The station housed 12,000 miners, engineers, and their families. Children played in the recreation domes while their parents extracted rare minerals that powered Earth's expanding colonies. Alina sipped her morning coffee, reviewing the day's mining reports on her tablet. Production was up 15% from last quarter. The ore shipments to Earth were regular and profitable. Life was good in humanity's furthest outpost. She had no idea that in 37 minutes, everything would change forever. The first warning came from the long-range sensors. Arya Singh, the station's youngest tech specialist at barely 22, burst into the command center with wide eyes and trembling hands. Her voice cracked as she spoke to Alina. "Commander, we have multiple contacts approaching from the edge of the system. The signatures don't match any known human vessels." Alina set down her coffee and moved to the central display. 7 massive objects moved through space with purpose and speed that defied their size. Each ship was nearly 3 kilometers long, crystalline in structure, reflecting starlight like deadly prisms. They had never seen anything like them. "Send a standard greeting transmission," Alina ordered, her military training taking over. All frequencies, multiple languages, including the basic mathematical sequences. Arya's fingers flew across her console. Transmission sent. "Commander." No response. Dr. Marcus Chen, the station's chief scientist and xenobiologist, studied the approaching ships with fascination mixed with dread. His excitement at first contact was quickly overshadowed by the ship's aggressive approach vector. "Commander, their trajectory suggests they're not here for peaceful contact. They're moving in attack formation." Elena's stomach dropped. Prometheus 7 was a mining station, not a military installation. Their defenses consisted of point defense systems designed to clear debris, not repel an invasion. She opened a channel to all sections of the station. "This is Commander Vasquez. All personnel to emergency stations immediately. This is not a drill. Prepare for possible hostile contact." The station erupted into controlled chaos as families rushed to emergency shelters and technicians powered up what few defensive systems they had. Alina watched the alien fleet draw closer, their crystalline hulls gleaming with an otherworldly beauty that made their intent seem even more sinister. Captain Jake Morrison was in the station's small hangar, preparing his cargo shuttle for a routine supply run to the inner system. The emergency alert caught him halfway through his pre-flight check. Jake had served in Earth's Colonial Defense Force before becoming a civilian pilot. He knew the sound of real danger when he heard it. His wife Sarah and their 8-daughter Emma were in their quarters in Residential Section C. Jake's hands shook as he tried to contact them, but the communication channels were jammed with emergency traffic. He abandoned his shuttle and ran through the corridors toward his family. The first shots came without warning. Beams of pure energy, brilliant and terrible, lanced out from the alien ships. They sliced through the station's outer hull like it was paper. Atmospheric breach alarms screamed as sections of Prometheus 7 vented atmosphere into space. The mining platform's artificial gravity fluctuated, sending people tumbling through corridors. Alina gripped the command console as the station shuddered under the assault. "Return fire. All available weapons." The station's few defensive lasers and missile launchers activated, sending streams of projectiles toward the alien fleet. The shots struck the crystalline hulls and simply dissipated, absorbed harmlessly into the alien material. It was like throwing stones at mountains. "Our weapons are ineffective," Dr. Chen reported, his voice barely audible over the alarms. "Their whole composition is unlike anything in our databases." Another volley of alien fire tore through the station. This time, they targeted the residential sections. Alina watched in horror as Residential Section C, home to over 3,000 people, was severed from the main structure. The section spun away into space, its emergency power failing as life support systems went dark. Jake Morrison reached his family's quarters just as the section was hit. The force of the impact threw him against a bulkhead, and he watched helplessly as his wife and daughter were sucked out through a massive hull breach. Their screams were cut short by the vacuum of space. Jake's world collapsed in that moment, leaving only a hollow rage that would define the rest of his life. The slaughter continued for 6 hours. The aliens, who humanity would later learn called themselves the Zephyrians, methodically destroyed every section of the station. They targeted the evacuation pods first, ensuring no one could escape. They hunted down survivors in the corridors with precision and calculation that spoke of long practice. Alina found herself trapped in a maintenance shaft with Dr. Chen and 12 other survivors as Zephyrian boarding parties swept through the station. Through the shaft's ventilation grates, they watched tall, crystalline beings move through the corridors. The aliens stood nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies composed of what looked like living mineral that shifted and flowed like liquid glass. The Zephyrians carried devices that seemed to scan for human life signs when they found survivors. Hiding in storage compartments or emergency shelters, they used weapons that caused human tissue to crystallize instantly. Men, women, and children turned to shimmering statues before crumbling to dust. "Why?" Dr. Chen whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Why are they doing this?" Alina had no answer. The attack showed no signs of military necessity or resource acquisition. This was extermination for its own sake, methodical and complete. The worst revelation came when Alina accessed a functioning terminal in the shaft. Using her command codes, she tapped into the station's central computer and found something that chilled her to the bone. The Zephyrians had uploaded data to the station's servers before beginning their attack. The files contained detailed intelligence on human colonies throughout the galaxy, population centers, defensive capabilities, resource locations, even civilian shipping schedules. But most terrifying were the target lists. Prometheus 7 was just the beginning. The files showed plans for systematic attacks on 47 human settlements, ending with Earth itself. This wasn't a random encounter or territorial dispute. This was planned genocide. Alina managed to compile the alien data and her own records of the attack into a compressed transmission package. As the Zephyrian search teams drew closer to their hiding spot, she prepared to send humanity's final warning. "Dr. Chen, take Arya and the others. Get to the emergency pods in Maintenance Base 7. I'll buy you time." "Commander, we can't leave you. That's an order, Doctor. Humanity needs to know what's coming." Alina waited until the others had crawled deeper into the shaft system before emerging into the corridor. She moved through the station's devastated sections, avoiding Zephyrian patrols while making her way to the primary communications array. The journey took her through rooms filled with crystallized remains of people she had known for years. Families turned to mineral sculptures, children forever frozen in their final moments of terror. She reached the communications center as the last Zephyrian ships prepared to depart. The aliens had taken what they came for: intelligence, tactical data, and proof that humans could be easily exterminated. Alina activated the quantum transmitter and aimed it toward Earth, over 40 light-years away. Her transmission would take decades to reach home through conventional space. But Prometheus 7's quantum relay could send the signal instantly to Earth's monitoring stations. Alina poured everything into that message: the attack records, the alien intelligence files, the proof that humanity faced extinction. As she finished the transmission, Alina heard footsteps in the corridor outside. The Zephyrians had found her. She drew her sidearm, knowing it was useless against their technology, but unwilling to die without a fight. The last thing Alina saw was a crystalline figure raising its weapon. The last thing she felt was cold spreading through her body as her tissue began to transform. But her final thought brought her peace. The message was sent. Earth would know. Humanity would be ready. When the Zephyrian fleet departed, Prometheus 7 was a tomb. 12,000 people had been reduced to glittering dust that drifted through the station's corridors like snow. The mining equipment was destroyed, the structures collapsed, the hope of peaceful expansion into the galaxy seemingly shattered. But in the depths of space, Alina's transmission raced toward Earth at faster than light speed. It carried with it not just a warning, but something more dangerous to the Zephyrians than any weapon: the knowledge that humanity now knew it was at war. The sleeping giant was about to wake up, and the galaxy would never be the same. When humanity stopped playing defense, 6 months after Prometheus 7 went silent, Earth had transformed into something the galaxy had never seen before. Admiral Sarah Cross stood in the war room beneath Geneva, surrounded by holographic displays showing the deployment of humanity's new fleet. The peaceful blue world above had become the heart of a war machine that operated with ruthless efficiency. Alina Vasquez's final transmission had reached Earth 3 days after the massacre. The quantum relay had delivered not just the warning, but terabytes of Zephyrian intelligence data that humanity's best minds had been analyzing ever since. What they discovered changed everything about how humans saw themselves and their place in the universe. Status report, Admiral Cross commanded, her voice echoing in the underground facility that had been carved from solid rock in just 4 months. Dr. Marcus Chen, one of only 17 survivors, recovered from Prometheus 7's wreckage by a rescue mission, stepped forward. The experience had changed him from a peaceful scientist into something harder and more focused. His team had spent every waking hour reverse engineering Zephyrian technology. "We've made breakthrough progress, Admiral. The crystalline matrix that makes up their hulls isn't just armor, it's a living computational system. We've learned to disrupt it using harmonic frequencies generated by our new sonic weaponry." Captain Jake Morrison, now wearing the dark uniform of Earth's Revenge Fleet, added his report. "The first wave of Reaper-class fighters is ready for deployment. Ships, each one carrying enough firepower to level the city. The pilots have been training non-stop since the survivors brought back tactical data." Jake's eyes held the cold fury that had driven him since losing his family. He had volunteered for the most dangerous missions, leading training exercises that pushed human pilots beyond their limits. His call sign, Reaper, had spread through the fleet as other pilots saw what focused rage could accomplish. The transformation of humanity had been swift and total. Within weeks of receiving Alina's transmission, Earth's governments had unified under a single military command. Peaceful research stations became weapons laboratories. Merchant ships were converted into warships. Children as young as 16 volunteered for accelerated military training programs. Tech specialist Arya Singh, now bearing the rank of major, despite her youth, controlled the holographic display showing Zephyrian fleet movements. Her team had cracked the alien communication codes and turned them into humanity's greatest advantage. Admiral, we're tracking 17 Zephyrian fleets across 6 sectors. They're moving according to the timetable we found in their intelligence files. The attack on the Centauri colonies is scheduled to begin in 72 hours. Admiral Cross nodded grimly. Then we spring the trap at Centauri. All fleets report readiness, status. The responses came in from across human space. Battle Group Alpha at the edge of the solar system. Strike Force Omega hidden in the asteroid fields of the outer colonies. Ghost Squadron, consisting of modified stealth ships that had been hunting lone Zephyrian scouts for months. Humanity had learned that the Zephyrians viewed them as a minor species to be easily eliminated. The aliens' intelligence files spoke of humans as soft organic entities with limited technological adaptation capability. They planned to exterminate humanity the same way they had destroyed dozens of other species across the galaxy. What the Zephyrians didn't understand was that they had made a critical error. By showing humans exactly what was at stake, by demonstrating that mercy was not an option. They had awakened something in humanity that had slumbered since the ancient wars of Earth's prehistory. Dr. Chen activated a new display showing the results of his research team's work. Admiral, we've also made progress on psychological warfare applications. Analysis of Zephyrian behavior patterns suggests they experience something analogous to fear when faced with unexpected resistance. Explain, Cross ordered. The Zephyrians have conquered 43 species over the past millennium. In every case, their victims either surrendered quickly or fought defensively until extinction. They've never encountered a species that adapted their technology and turned it against them. They've never faced prey that became predators. Jake Morrison smiled for the first time since Prometheus 7. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Good. Let's show them what happens when humans stop playing defense. The trap at Centauri was sprung with precision that would have impressed Earth's greatest military strategists. The Zephyrian fleet arrived, expecting to find an undefended colony ripe for slaughter. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by human ships that appeared from behind moons, asteroids, and sensor shadows. Admiral Cross watched the battle unfold from the bridge of humanity's new flagship, the ESV, Elena Vasquez. The ship was a hybrid of human engineering and reverse-engineered Zephyrian technology, bristling with weapons that the aliens had never faced before. All ships, this is Admiral Cross. Today we stop running. Today we stop hiding. Today we show the galaxy that humanity doesn't go quietly into the dark. The first volley of human sonic weapons struck the Zephyrian fleet like a thunderclap. The crystalline hulls that had seemed invulnerable at Prometheus 7 began to resonate and crack. Alien ships that had destroyed entire worlds with impunity suddenly found themselves vulnerable to weapons designed by the survivors of their own massacre. Captain Morrison led the fighter assault, his Reaper squadron diving through the Zephyrian formation like angry wasps. The new human fighters were smaller and faster than anything the aliens had encountered, using hit-and-run tactics that exploited weaknesses discovered through months of captured alien technology analysis. Target their command nodes, Morrison's voice crackled over the com. Let's see how well they coordinate when they can't talk to each other. The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Humanity fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction and the fury of those who had lost everything. When the last Zephyrian ship exploded in a cascade of shattered crystal, the silence that followed was deafening. But Admiral Cross wasn't finished. She opened a channel on the Zephyrian command frequency that Aria's team had cracked months earlier. Her words would be heard by every alien fleet in the galaxy. "This is Admiral Sarah Cross of the human fleet. You came to our worlds thinking we would die quietly. You murdered our families thinking we would surrender easily. You made one critical mistake. You let some of us live to remember." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in across light years of space. "You wanted to see what humans are capable of when pushed to the edge. Now you know. We have studied your technology. We have adapted your weapons. We have learned your weaknesses, and we are coming for you." The transmission continued with detailed intelligence about Zephyrian fleet positions and tactical capabilities, information that human reconnaissance missions had gathered while the aliens thought they were hunting defenseless prey. "You have 47 colonies across 17 sectors. We know where every one of them is located. You have 68 active fleets. We are tracking all of them. You thought you were the predators in this galaxy. You were wrong." Across human space, the message was repeated and amplified. Every colony, every ship, every human outpost echoed the same declaration. The species that had once spread peacefully through the stars was now united in a single purpose. Dr. Chen's voice came over the com from the science station. "Admiral, we're detecting massive Zephyrian fleet movements. They're withdrawing from 17 planned attacked targets and consolidating their forces." "Let them consolidate," Cross replied. "It just makes them easier to find." The transformation was complete. In 6 months, humanity had evolved from peaceful explorers to efficient killers. They had taken the Zephyrians' own technology and improved upon it. They had studied alien tactics and developed counters. Most importantly, they had abandoned the concept of proportional response. Major Singh's analysis had revealed the critical difference between humans and the 43 species the Zephyrians had previously conquered. Those species had fought defensively, trying to protect what they had. Humans fought offensively, seeking to destroy what their enemies possessed. Admiral Jake Morrison reported from the fighter bay. "The squadrons are requesting permission to begin hunter-killer operations. The pilots want to take the fight to enemy territory." Cross nodded. "Granted. All units are authorized for unrestricted warfare. Show the galaxy what happens when humanity decides to stop being civilized." The orders went out across the fleet, carried by quantum transmissions to every human ship and base. The message was simple and final. No quarter asked, none given. The Zephyrians had wanted to see humanity's potential. Now they would experience it firsthand. As the human fleet dispersed to begin its campaign of systematic destruction, Admiral Cross stood before the memorial wall in her ready room. 10,000 names were etched into the metal, every person who had died at Prometheus 7. At the top, in larger letters, was inscribed Elena Vasquez, Commander, First Witness. "You warned us," Cross whispered to the memorial. "You gave us the tools to fight back. Now we'll make sure their sacrifice means something." The war that followed would reshape the galaxy. Species that had cowered in fear of the Zephyrians would watch in amazement as humans hunted their former oppressors across the stars. Trade routes that had been closed for centuries would reopen. Worlds that had lived under the shadow of extinction would see freedom for the first time in generations. But none of that mattered to the humans who fought the war. They weren't crusading for galactic freedom or cosmic justice. They were evening the score for 12,000 innocent people who had been murdered simply for existing. The Zephyrians had awakened something in humanity that could never be put back to sleep. They had turned a peaceful species into the galaxy's most efficient predators, and now there was no going back for either side. The stars themselves would remember what happened when humanity stopped playing defense and decided to play for keeps.